Hello and welcome to another episode of Lief's Lounge. This may be a one-shot. This may end up being a full episode. We'll see how the conversation goes. A topic came up recently that I wanted to specifically talk about, but before we get to the conversation, please hit the follow button if you're on Spotify and hit the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. If you're ever on Spotify, come on over to YouTube, get in the discussion, join the comment section. I've gotten guests on that you guys have recommended, so keep those coming, and just give us your opinions on any of the topics that we talk about during this conversation. Let's not push this out any further. Let's get the guest on here. Of course, on today's episode, it's Sebastian Martin-Shultz, aka Sebdot. What's up, dude? It's nice to have you on here.
Yeah, man. No, I'm happy to be here. You said my name in every possible way, so I appreciate that. But yeah, no, I'm happy to be here. You've had a lot of great guests and a lot of interesting conversations, so I'm hoping we get to have a good one ourselves.
Yeah, no, I want to start it off with the most interesting conversation, one we can almost all relate to. If you're not a coffee drinker, let us know in the comments. But coffee, we both were trying to get this podcast going, and then I'm like, okay, I'm already late. I'm gonna skip this my coffee. And right when I was about to message you that, you're like, all right, I'm getting coffee. I'm like, all right, it's coffee break time. And my mug, I got my handmade. I made this in like grade 4.
Oh my god,
my Batman mug.
That's so cool. Dude, that pattern, like it pops. I love it. The black and yellow.
It was a sponge that I cut out the Batman symbol into.
Oh, now I see it. Okay, now I see it. That's actually so funny. I got my Rocket League mug that I got from.
Great.
I want to say I got this in LA, like the first land back.
Okay.
So that was pretty good. That was like when honestly, the merch at the first land back was just A1. It was so good. I feel like as far as like accessories, which I like most, they haven't been able to just come up with as good ones as the mug.
Yeah, no, one of my favorite mugs right now is a Star Citizen mug. I think good looking mugs that are game related, not just put a logo, like simple or like a JPEG with that box around it and everything. A good designed mug is underestimated. People like their mugs.
I had when I went to the Boston Major for CSGO in 2018, I bought the CSGO mug, like official Valve license. Yeah. And that was hard to get at the time because like they always were out of stock, but they sold them there. And it was my main mug whenever I went to the Score esports office. Of course, yeah. And then when COVID happened, can I swear?
You can swear as much as you want.
Someone fucking took that mug. When we were moving all of our shit out, someone took that mug. Never found out who it was. I was so upset. I was seething, dude.
Look, I'm already getting red in anger for
I
you.
was so bad, dude.
Oh, that makes me. I don't take people. If it's not yours, don't take stuff. Okay, guys?
Because it was sentimental. That's the Boston Major. That's like my mug.
Yeah, I'm. You know what, Kay? Maybe we'll put a little bit of a good spin on it. Maybe it's obviously someone should still have told you. But what if someone broke it and couldn't face the embarrassment of telling you, so they just threw it out?
Like, if they broke it, that would have been totally fine. Just be like, buy me a new one, right?
Right.
But like, I still would have lost the sentiment of it.
Oh,
but
of course. Yeah.
Otherwise, like, I don't care, dude. Just like tell me, so I'm not like left in the ether of like where it went, and then someone just randomly took it. So.
Right, yeah, because now you don't know.
Yeah, now I don't know. and the thing is, in the new office that we have, which is on Sugar Beach, if you know Toronto, no one brings in their own mugs anymore. It's just like the typical office white, like IKEA mug, so it's boring as heck.
Yeah. Let's make this somewhat of a full episode then, because I actually want to get a little bit more out of you on your journey because the whole point of this podcast is to find out about the personalities in the scene and get to know them outside of broadcast. And I feel like it's just, unless you're even tweets, like if you're following someone and seeing their tweets, it's still hard to really grasp who they are. I mean, I've hung out with you in person before. Great guy, but there's a lot of people that don't know this. So we'll dive in your journey in a second. Last question I have about the coffee is, what are you drinking? Are you a coffee connoisseur, or are you throwing K-cups in?
So no. Right now, I just came back from Japan.
Okay. Yes, I was going to ask you about that after.
So fun fact, Uniqlo, but also Muji. So I bought a Uniqlo mug, but Muji also has their own coffee beans. And I could have bought like more like boutique kind of coffee beans from Japan because they're surprisingly expensive, but they're so good. And I got a few I want to say I got a few Colombian blends from Muji,
Okay.
which were great. But yeah, no, I don't go like espresso or anything like that. Like I have a Chemex like right here.
Right.
So I do enjoy my coffee. My go-to is there in my hometown in Kingsville, Ontario. There's a coffee shop called Red Lantern Coffee, and they've existed for a bit. And my mom as well as myself, we always buy their beans, and she literally ships them up to me in Toronto, which is like 4 hours away.
Good, okay.
So that's like my go-to. They're great. They've always been really good to us. But yeah, no, I like my coffee to my girlfriend's chagrin because I have way too many ways to make coffee. So.
Okay, yeah, I no, good. I just wanted to know what level you're at. Yeah, I made this one here. I have wet hulled Indonesian right now.
Nice.
It's a local roaster. He sources them. He talks to the farmers himself. He just down the street. I could walk there in 5 minutes.
Wow.
More like 8 minutes. But just on the street, it gets roasted. Sometimes it's too fresh that I have to let it rest for a couple weeks. But yeah, no. So, and I used an AeroPress for this. I found it's gotten decent clarity in it. I also do have a V60 for pour over.
I have an AeroPress too, and I find that like for single cups, fantastic. Like in my opinion, like probably the best. And then, like I put like AeroPress probably first for me, Chemex like second because I think it's easy to screw up, and then third is like V60 or like anything else.
Right.
But there's also the Clever Drip, which was so like.
I don't know the Clever Drip.
The Clever Drip, imagine like a tea infuser that you just put on top of your thing, like on top of your thing. It's very similar. Like it's more of an infusion method.
It's okay.
It was so easy to use. And when I was like going through really hard edits, I was like, I need to bang out a quick coffee. It takes like 2 seconds. You just put it on top. They're good. But now I go through, it's also like you can use a reusable filter, and you can use the filters you can get like at a grocery store.
It's kind of like, that's like AeroPress for me. I'm like, AeroPress, I'm done in under 5 minutes. Just, crank it out. There's a bit more prep with the V60. I'm looking at like 10 minutes or so to make a cup. I hadn't heard of the
Clever Trip. I know James Hoffman. He reviewed one at one point.
I should have known you watched Hoffman. If you know this.
No, dude, Toronto is like surprisingly really bougie when it comes to their coffee. It's actually insane.
We have a local place here that was pretty good called Matter of Taste, and a new place just opened up. And one of the reviews on I went there, and I absolutely agree with this, but one of the reviews on this new place that opened up called Lucero Canteen, the review was James Hoffman needs to come here in Kitchener.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it's a 10-minute walk. It's right downtown, and it's phenomenal. Yeah. It's cool to have like those like because Toronto of course has a lot of stuff.
A lot, yeah.
But in a city like Kitchener, we're getting a lot bigger. We're definitely like there's a lot of attention on us right now in the scheme of Canada.
Yeah, it's because Toronto's too expensive.
Everyone's coming here and making it expensive for us.
Exactly.
It's brutal, man. But we've always what's cool about this town is we've always been about local stuff. Like I mean, downtown alone, there's 3 chains now. Sorry, Tim Hortons did finally open. We didn't have a Tim Hortons downtown ever until 2 years ago.
That's crazy.
Starbucks is down here now, and we have a Subway. Beyond that, there's no chains. It's all local owned restaurants and coffee places and everything. And I love that vibe about it. Whereas Toronto, you get a little more of like there are the good spots, but it's harder to find.
You gotta look for them. You gotta go to like to the smaller like neighborhoods. Like maybe you'll find something in Liberty or like maybe around Church Street or Roncesvalles or however you pronounce it. Or like North York, things like the smaller boroughs kind of thing. That's where you'll find like the good, especially coffee shops, but just good place to eat in general. But so much of Toronto, just because it's so expensive, you can't afford to have a local place there. It's why in Toronto, I try and support local as much as I can, even if it costs a bit more, because I'm like, listen, I'd rather go for this and have like a local place than not at all and just have it be another Starbucks or Fat Bastard or whatever the hell. So
I always support local. Everyone should support local in every way possible too. I mean, we just had a by-election here, and again, our area voted in someone that wasn't liberal or conservative. Which is
I saw you tweet about that. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's twice now. We've had. I don't care about the party that they are involved in. I care more about the person cares about local.
Yeah.
Right. And that's twice we've done that now, federal and provincial level.
That's great.
And I think it's people when you guys vote out there, please look at your local candidates. Don't just vote for your president, your prime minister, whatever it is.
Vote the party and the person.
Vote for the person that is good for you. I'd say even get rid of the party. Just vote for the person. Again, I don't care about Green Party at all, right? But it's like, I don't think, I mean, they have some good values, but it's like, it's not 100% of, I mean, nothing's going to be 100%, but like it's the person though. I knew these people cared about the core area, the community I was involved in, and you have to do that. I don't care if your community disagrees with everything my community does. Just make sure you're voting someone that represents your community.
Yeah.
There's my little spiel.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree. But
we can make a change.
You're talking to Americans too, who just have so no concept of like first past the post or like the Canadian system. But to Canadians, yes, please like vote for your person that is more involved with like your community, who understands your community, rather than just like some bum who like from the liberal party or conservative party
just trying to get a seat and he's just going to vote whatever the prime minister votes for. Yeah.
So it's just, do your research.
Vote local. Yeah. You can make a change. You can, and my city has proved that twice now, which is phenomenal. Just to give people an idea of what's on the agenda today and what sparked this discussion. I mean, again, we're going to go through coffee was one of the things on the agenda because when you said making a coffee and then it took you a bit, I'm like, I think he knows he's not just throwing a K-cup in.
No, thank God.
He would have been ready by now. So yeah, on the agenda today, I wanted to hit that. I also wanted to cover your travels to Japan because I know you were just out there recently. And the thing that sparked the discussion, we'll be getting into Rocket League stuff for people down the road, is that you put a tweet recently. We're not going to talk about it now, but we will be. You just asked, how do we get more casuals into RLCS? You're just frustrated to see that we have such a big casual player base, and we can't get them watching the RLCS. And we're going to discuss maybe ways that we think that can happen, if it should happen, why it should happen, all that fun stuff in a bit. But first, I want to, again, talk about that trip to Japan. How was that? Because I think everyone wants to go to Japan at some point, and not a lot of people get the opportunity to. But now that Japan's open again, maybe people are going to start getting out there more. But you took the jump and you got over there.
Yeah, so my partner and I were basically planning this trip for like a year. Okay, she planned most of it, I should say, or else she's going to come over here and just attack me. But she planned most of it. We really decided last year, it's like, we're going to go because things started to open up. We had the resources to be able to do it. We wanted to go in a time where people probably weren't going to go. Everyone is like, oh, I want to see the sakura, bloom and whatnot. So like March, April or whatever. Right. We're like, no, that's probably a bad idea. Let's go later in the year so that we can take advantage of like cooler weather, because Japan gets...
Was it snowing?
No. We caught him probably right before snow. So it gets cooler, but it was still actually really hot. Like it was pretty hot. Right. So and we went with a group of 7 for reference, because it was like a whole friend group thing.
I didn't know it was a whole thing.
Yeah, originally it was going to be me, my partner, and another friend of ours. It was going to be us 3, and then people was like, oh, I can come, oh, blah, blah, blah. We went to Tokyo. We spent a day in Hakone, which is where like all the Evangelion stuff is, by the way. Right. Okay. We went to Kyoto. We went to Kanazawa, then Kyoto, and then ended things with Osaka. Was amazing. I don't know how long you want me to spend on this, but it was.
I'm just here to hear your story, man.
It was so incredible because like you've been to like Toronto, so like you kind of get how Toronto, the culture is, right? It's like even amongst North American cities, we have a fantastic transit system relative to the rest of North America.
Specifically America.
yeah, but like our culture is generally like, even though Toronto is a lot more dickish, it's more polite generally, but there are certain North American things that are just so ingrained into you that when you go over to a place like Japan, it's blown wide open. So like respect for noise, which Toronto kind of has, like no one likes screaming, but respect for noise. What is it? Respect for like which way you're walking on the street, which way you're going down the stairs and escalator, not like eating or being obnoxious out in public. Right. It honestly,
it's the public environment that's very stay out of other people's business.
Exactly, right? But it's like the little things, like every single, to me, the best way to encapsulate is like the toilets, or just not even just the toilet, the bathrooms, right?
Yeah.
We went to, we stayed in a hostel first. So it was, cheap, but really well done. The bathrooms themselves, obviously all of them have bidets, Right.
Yes, I have a bidet, and so that's one place
amazing.
I'll be okay with traveling.
Amazing. It was amazing. I want one so bad, but I didn't get a washlet, unfortunately.
Washlet.
What is it? The bidets played sounds to mask your pooping or to make it less awkward, which is
that's cool.
They're heated, obviously. The bathrooms, all of them had the stone blocks, which is basically like, how we would have like drying mats or whatever, like when you get out of the shower. Okay. They had these stone blocks, which basically dried everything up. All the mirrors had air pumped behind them, so they didn't all fog up.
Steam, okay.
Yeah. So all of it, and yes, everything was small relatively, but like you got used to it really quick. But the bathrooms themselves were just amazing. For Tokyo, we did all the touristy stuff. We went to like Akihabara and all that stuff. And, I literally like bought this phone case in Japan. My Nerf phone is from Casetify, but they had a bunch of stores and stuff. And I bought my phone in Japan.
Casetify is now boo.
Yeah, Casetify. Yeah, they can get sued. I bought, my Evangelion merch, so like my key thing,
Okay, yeah.
A lot of just dumb anime stuff, but that's where you do it. Actually, all my
you do it, yes.
All my initial D stuff. I don't know if you can see it.
We'll I'll full screen it here, so we'll be able to see it.
All my initial D models I got from Japan. So like, you
got all that in Japan?
Oh yeah, I got all of it in Japan. Yeah.
How did you bring that back?
We bought. So I would say like you're going to be going upstairs a lot if you go in Japan, like up and down stairs. There's not as many like elevators and like escalators and stuff like that. So you're going to be going up and down stairs. But we brought carry-ons, obviously. We brought one check-in where we put a bunch of our clothes in, but it was like mostly empty. And then we bought another check-in at...
I'm looking something up. Keep talking though. I'm looking something up to
what is it? Don Quixote. That was called. So anyone who's been to Japan knows Don Quixote. We brought another check-in there, and that was basically for all of our just stuff, like so much just stuff. Obviously, like when we went there, in my opinion, like the best part of the trip was Osaka and Hakone. Hakone, we went for the onsen, right? So the onsen is like bathhouses. Things like that. Like it was the first time like I'd been in an onsen, so it's a little weird at first because like you're publicly just out there.
Was it either like full nudity or?
Yeah, it was full. Yeah.
That's crazy.
But you get so used to it. It's just like and especially in Hakone where it's an outdoor spring, so it's just you're so at peace. Like I literally.
Do they separate? They separate the onsens like through gender as well, right?
Yeah.
Like male, female. Okay.
So you get in there, you shower, you do your stuff, and then you just chill in for like an hour or whatever with like different temperatures. There's like a cold one, there's a hot one, there's a really hot one. There's like a little mountain thing with like a Buddha at top. It was great. And then when I got out, and me and my friend were like sitting on the balcony, I have a picture of it that I sent. Actually, I posted on Twitter, which. If any of you care, you can go to my Twitter. You can see literally all the pictures that I took from Japan from like different parts. And one of the pictures that I took was from the thing where it was just like a big mountain view from the lodge. I was never been more at peace in my life. It was just pure relaxation and just no stress at all in the world.
Right. I mean, it helps that you're not over there working, right? I know a lot of the people that live there have a different story when it comes to stress.
Yeah, for sure. And I totally recognize like the work culture is like awful, and they don't treat foreigners particularly well. But
they definitely have a bit of a racism problem.
Oh yeah, definitely. But it's because like so much of the culture is like homogenous. And so when we went over there, we never really had. Nah, we had that issue once where we didn't get let into it, or they left us outside basically until we left while we were waiting for seats. But we ended up going to Hakone, doing all that. It was amazing. But Osaka was where like I got to experience the car culture stuff. I went to a couple car meets. I went to a concert because I have a friend who's a musician. Her name's Eulalie. She was in Japan, so I went ahead and experienced a bunch of that. That was Hakone right there. The mountain, the waterfall stuff. Yeah, that's Hakone. That was beautiful top down. It was incredible. So many of those pictures are just like from different parts of Japan, whether it was Kyoto, Osaka. In my opinion, Osaka was the best because I think you got to experience more of the culture of just with regular people. Like I was talking with like Japanese people, but also with like foreigners who live there. And it was just like, yeah, there's my big.
Nice, yeah.
There was just so much of it was just amazing to experience. Like the best thing about it in terms of experiencing the culture, and I promise we'll wrap up after this, was there is a place in Osaka called Amerikamura, which is, if you know, kind of thing. But it's a place where foreigners and Japanese people chill. It's a very like youth oriented area where like a lot of the youth culture of like early 20s goes around and stuff. There's a place called Triangle Park within Amerikamura. It was right around Halloween. Okay. And so on like the Friday or Saturday, I think it was the Friday, there was a car meet. So that's why I went there. I took a bunch of pictures of cars. It was amazing. But literally everyone there was just like chilling, drinking in public, like not to a point where it's weird, not where everyone's getting smashed or anything like that, but where everyone was just like having a good time, doing their own thing, talking with people, very easily socializing with people. And no one was being weird or obnoxious or really just like uncomfortable. I'm thinking if I was in Toronto, that would not be a thing. Because this went till like 11 to like 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
Like if I went to Liberty Village at like 12 at night on a Friday, like looking, or not even Liberty Village, just Kensington, I should say, looking for like just a chill time, hanging out with people, being able to talk to anyone, I'd be met with a freaking unsafe environment is what I should say, right? It's like I never felt unsafe while I was in Japan, and I always recommend it, especially if you're from North America. If you're from any North American city, go, and you will realize just how completely different the regular environment is compared to North America.
It brings up an interesting discussion too, because I mean, obviously the people that and this is why I tell people, I mean, if you're going to live in an area, say in the States, you live in a city that is just full out, I don't know, right-wing racist, just the most extreme nutcase, or the other way, you go complete left, full PC, just like you can't even speak anymore. It just, whichever it is, just make sure you're living in a as long as the community all agrees on that thing. I don't really see a problem with it, because that's a community existing as a community. Mm-hmm. The problem is when those communities influence other communities or have the ability to.
Yeah.
That's where we get those conflicts happening. But it's always a hard discussion of saying, okay, when a community all works together, while they may be racist and hate foreigners, when you go there, they're very respectful to each other. But then they also have terrible work culture and stress. I mean, you look at even in some of the surrounding countries. I mean, you look at over South Korea, some of the suicide rates are just terrible. It's like, what do you want to live in? Do you want to live in a place like New York, where maybe you might feel a little more unsafe and things can happen? There's less respect to each other out in the streets, but you also don't have to overwork yourself and feel like you get to go out that night and have fun and party, right? So it's, what's that balance? What's the right thing? And I mean, that's the thing. Life is great. There isn't an answer, but like, is there a way to balance those?
I did get to talk with some people who were living there about it, and I talked to a few people who were like teaching English. There was like a French guy who got to talk to, a lot of French guys there actually. It was nice to be able to use my French there, and then talk with some Australian people and stuff. And they said like, yeah, if you're working as like an English teacher, you're basically working like every day, right? And you might get one day off a week if you're lucky, kind of thing. So there is that work-life very struggle. And I even said to myself, it's like, I would not work there or live there probably. I would love to live there if I got to work a North American job or something along those lines, where it's like I got to work a North American schedule, but I got to live in Japan.
Be a YouTuber.
Yeah, well, that's why like my first instinct was like, if I was like a StarCraft 2 caster, I would absolutely live in South Korea. If I was a full-time like Rocket League APAC caster, I would absolutely live in Japan. Like, it'd be amazing. But obviously, like, there are only certain jobs that foreigners can really have there, where you don't have to speak Japanese, let alone like, you know, work a North American schedule, because the time zone is completely inverse. Right now it's 4:20 in the morning in Japan, and that's, you know, we're still in the workday here kind of thing. So it's very difficult to find, and some people make it work. Some people are able to work like finance jobs and stuff, but you have to get really lucky to avoid that whole, you know, really bad work culture kind of thing. Because if you think work-life balance is like horrible in North America, have fun.
No, yeah.
Bro. I saw like salarymen passed out on the floor, smashed, because they're just like, this is the only time they get to do anything, right?
Yep. You know what's crazy too is a lot of business deals are done when they're just completely wasted.
Oh yeah.
As well, like they have the drinking parties.
You know, it's fun fact I actually did learn. Apparently in Japan, if you like, they will actively like teach golf, because if you're a salaryman, it is within your best interest to learn golf, because most deals are made on the golf course. That's why there's like a lot of like really good Japanese golfers, because it's taught, you know, as the pipeline to go to be a salaryman. It's crazy.
You just imagine you're in grade 6. All right, get the cleats on.
Time to hit the 9. Let's go. I mean, there was so many golf stores in Japan. It was crazy. I loved it. It was awesome.
That's wild. That's actually, I knew baseball. I know they love baseball, but I didn't know about
actually the
golf.
The playoffs and finals actually were going on for their domestic league while I was there. Baseball is crazy over there, man. It's crazy.
I know. I see a lot of it too. I already knew that, but I see a lot of it because Spaceman loves his Japanese baseball.
Oh,
now.
Dude, it's insane. The crowd's just, it's like soccer essentially in Europe. Like it's so serious over there, and the crowd engagement is just insane.
How can you say in Europe and then not say football? They're going to be mad.
I know. Listen, we have Toronto FC. We have the Toronto Football Club, and I always say football normally, but it depends who I'm talking to. If it's North American, you know. But if it's like a proper European, I'll be like, yeah, football, or in a sports context.
I call it football as much as possible, unless I'm talking to an American.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, football is most. I've learned my lesson. It's funny though. A Brit can never yell at you, because the Brits are the one that came up with the word soccer.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then they try to turn it on us. So Brits are not allowed to talk.
Yeah,
everyone else fine.
I got a British what is it, Liverpool fan in the office, and he always says football, and he'll always trash someone if they talk about soccer. So yeah.
That's great. Okay, let's get to the juicy part of this. For people that don't know, I should have done this at the beginning on the intro, because I know, and I just forget that some people might not. But of course, Seb over here is a Rocket League commentator, so he knows a little bit about what he's talking about. And he brought up a tweet the other day, and it was, what is this? I can show it here. I thought it was a good question, because I had an opinion on it. Therefore, it's a good question. But if I can't talk about it, it's not a good question. So the question really was, how do we get more casuals into the RLCS? It's so tilting, because I feel like we have one of the biggest casual player bases in the world that literally don't know that the RLCS exists yet. Would be down for it. Are we just not doing enough to bring them in? Is there anything else you want to clarify on that question before we talk about it?
No. So basically, like, when it comes to like the casual player base, like so much of the casual player base is from consoles, from like PS4 back end, and like Xbox and whatnot, and Switch, and it's even let alone the PC player base, which we know is kind of up and down, especially when it comes to just like overall player base. But overall, I think we don't really have a player base problem, right? But we see that, maybe viewership is going down, maybe engagement is going down. I'm like, that shouldn't be a thing at all, right? Because of just the sheer amount of players that we have. If Fortnite is able to convert so much of their casual player base into a competitive audience, why isn't Rocket League able to, relative to its size?
Yeah. So it was, I guess I'll give my response here to it, and we can see what you did reply to it too, but we'll bring it up. My response was, it's just that some people don't care about esports, and that's always going to be inevitable. It's the same thing. Like did kind of watch traditional sports growing up, but even now that I'm more involved in gaming, I just don't watch traditional sports. I'll watch some hockey highlights here and there. I'll watch some clips of some sick goals or whatever. But I sometimes I'll look at the standings of my favorite team, but it's very rarely. And the inevitability is with a casual player. I mean, I'll give my my brother-in-law as an example. He plays Rocket League from time to time, or did. He plays a lot of FIFA, but he's a tradesman, right? Like he's out there working a hard job day to day, manual labor, and when he gets home, he's got a kid now, and when he gets home, it's very limited time to play. And if he does hop on, he'll play 20 minutes of Rocket League, or 1 or 2 games of FIFA, and then that's his gaming for the night. And then spending that time to, even if there is a big thing that pops up, says the RLCS is happening right now, it's the World Championships, the chance of him clicking that is very minimal. Maybe because he knows I'm involved with it, he might put it on the TV. But if you didn't know me, is he going to click that? And I don't know if there's a way we're ever going to get a lot of that casual audience, specifically because Rocket League pulls in my opinion, even more of a casual audience than Fortnite.
Yeah.
Fortnite is closer to the traditional video game. It's a shooter. There's a lot of mechanics that don't translate to real world stuff. Mm-hmm. You're not, but well, maybe for him because building, but it's like for the most part, there's a lot of mechanics that don't translate. With Rocket League, it translates so easily to a casual, like even the most casual of casual players, because of how easy it is to understand. Yep. So we might have that large player base. I wonder if it's even possible to convert those people, because if they don't even know it exists, and even if they do, are they going to click it, right?
Yeah. So just for context, like this is in the context of, one from like content ideation. So I know like I've been working at the Score Esports. If anyone who doesn't know what the Score Esports is, it's a large content esports centric media channel. You'll find it a lot on YouTube and TikTok and stuff.
If you guys haven't seen it on YouTube, your algorithms are whack.
Yeah. Anyway, so I started in like 2018, and me and like one other person, but at the time it was mainly me. Like I was the biggest like propaganda pusher for like Rocket League in the office. I edited the first Rocket League videos that we did, which was like season 6 top 10 highlights or whatever. Mm-hmm. I made the story of Turbo Pulsa, which I was particularly proud of. We did the story of Squishy. We did the story of Rocket League. We made sure to really like have a huge push. We did a bit on Scrubkilla right after he won Worlds, among some like other things, right? And it was always like a mixed performance. I think the most performing was like Story of Rocket League, which had like 700,000 views, and then like Story of Turbo, or sorry, no, that was Squishy that did 700,000, and then
of course
Rocket League and Rocket League and Turbo did like 300 to 400, and Scrub just didn't do well. And like the ongoing question has always been, why do we struggle to tap so hard into Rocket League? Because we know the audience is there, right? Like we have like Sunless Con and stuff. We know that there's a huge casual audience, and we know that our audience in particular was always CS:GO centric, League of Legends centric, and like the big 3 kind of thing. But we did get a huge niche audience with Rainbow Six, for example, with Tekken, for example. We had huge niche audiences in those. Some of our most successful videos are based off of these niche esports, and so I try and compare Rocket League in that context to Super Smash Bros. Melee back in the day.
I love Melee.
Right.
I TO'd
huge Melee fan. I think that's where we first met, was when we were like setting up like setups for like EGLX and whatnot back in the day.
It must have been there. Yeah.
You clowned on me because I was gold. Anyway, I'll talk about that in a sec. But in the context is, a lot of people in on the GameCube, Melee was the most sold game, bar none. It was the most successful game off the GameCube, and no one had really been exposed to what competitive Melee was like until the Smash Brothers documentary in 2013, which was, if any of you don't know, please, it's a fantastic documentary. So yes. Just look up the Smash Brothers. It's by Samox. It is a great documentary that details the history from Super Smash Bros. Melee, its entire history up to that point, and
it's actually interesting because I feel like all of that information is still relevant in the landscape of today's
for sure.
Who's still around.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's the God story is still kind of there.
Yeah. I mean, Mango's still playing, HBox is still playing. You know, you don't have as many, but like a lot of the core characters are still around.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But what it did was it completely blew the door open on everyone's perception on what professional Melee is. They're like, holy crap, you can move that fast. You can do all this stuff. You can wave dash. You can, tech chase. You can do all this stuff. And then it got people into the game. And there was the biggest growth of players on the competitive level since the game came out. And I like to akin that to Rocket League in that it's not so much a case of, RLCS isn't as exposed, but I think there's just a huge sect of players that straight up doesn't know what good Rocket League looks like. They get it from Reddit, or they might get it from whatever, but they don't know that there is a huge scene that is developed revolving around this high level gameplay. And once they might potentially be like, holy crap, this is its own thing of this game that I've been playing with for how many years casually, just at like diamond or plat level. Now I can actually see what good players looks like.
I think I'm there's three things off of that. One, I'm going to ask you what you think a solution might be. Maybe you don't have any, but I think just asking the question is more than enough to start the discussion. I mean, you can see by the tweet how many responses there were that people are talking about this. So it's a good question. Two, I want to give maybe my thought on, I think an answer was almost in something you said there, was that the videos that did well and didn't do well, the one that did the best was the generic one. You have a casual audience watching that says, oh, well, what is the story of Rocket League? Maybe I can just get some concept of what's going on. The next one that did well was Squishy. And that's because Squishy already has a personality that's known by people because of his content, his YouTube, and what he's done with his own brand. And the one that didn't do as well was the player that a lot of players, unless you know Rocket League, won't know, and it's Scrubkilla, because Scrubkilla doesn't have a lot of his own brand that he's built out there, right? In the scene, very well known.
And this was when he was peaking. This is right after he won Worlds, so you would be like, okay, that should be a banger.
But what's his reach to the casual audience? And it's not that much. In the scene, yes. So the answer might lie in how do we create superstars out of these personalities rather than making Rocket League the superstar. How do we get people to care about the personalities behind it? And to tie into that, I think, by the way, Wavepunk, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched the Game Awards, just won esports host of the year, which is phenomenal. First off, for him and his career, absolutely deserved. The man is such a hard worker. If you ever talk to him behind the scenes, he cares so much about his craft and making the show the best show it can possibly be. So not well deserved, well earned for him. And what's also great for it in the selfish thing is that it's great for our scene. It's recognition that, there's this guy that was doing that's mostly about Rocket League. I think his Twitch rival stuff really helped him there, but like he's mostly a Rocket League guy, and he shouted out in his speech. He said, "This is for Rocket League. This is for our community." That in itself is going to show this guy just won it. What are we missing? There's some talent that we're clearly missing in this scene. If this guy just won esports host of the year, and that's going to get some eyes on Rocket League, but that's the personality again. Okay, what do we miss in this personality? And I think if we can pull out more, build and support firsthand the personalities, and something I really want to push even on shows is how do we make these stories about these characters in this esport. And I think the subpar, Stumpy and Cole, they do their videos are great. I think if we can somehow get those on broadcast more or out to a larger audience, we need to build it internally first so that things like the score can then report on those personalities and spread that even further. But there has to be a reach from those personalities already.
And what I like about the esports awards was, you know, the fact that Wavepunk won. It was amazing. But on the inverse, and this is where Salty Seb is gonna come in, but Demon One beating Zen. I'm sorry.
Zen should. Yeah,
I
there's
don't.
No way Zen
I
doesn't
like
win that.
Objective. Like okay, mainly because we've been paying attention to the esports awards for a long time.
As a fan of esports,
like
not just Rocket League.
I fundamentally think Demon One wins just because it's Valorant, and Valorant is, you know, the biggest esports title in the world, or one of anyway. To me, the complete lack of recognition of one of, if not the best single year of a individual, in my opinion, in all of esports, because Faker, yes, he won esports, but he didn't have a stellar year. Who else was nominated? I think Zywoo was nominated. Yes, he had a very good year. He'll probably be the best player in the year, but he didn't win everything. Demon One literally had one tournament. Congratulations, after being, you know, dog for like tier 3 for the entire year. Zen literally won everything except Gamers 8, which we don't count, but literally won everything possible, and he still can't win, which to me is
it's a matured esport too. That's the thing.
Yeah.
This is not an esport in its first year, and I'm sorry to any esports in the first year, but that first year, and this is no slight on like Kronovi's win or anything, but that first year is easier relative to when a matured scene, right? Once that scene, the skill level goes up and up and up, more people play. We have so many good Rocket League players now. To do what Zen did is near impossible.
Yeah,
like
in the
to
French
come
scene,
in, perfect sweep on a regional and then win worlds is absurd.
Yeah,
absolutely absurd in a maturity sport.
And that's not even counting ones, which was also absurd. He literally went, was it 11-0 and only lost in a best of 7, full best of 7.
There's
so many
which is
factors.
Like the best.
So to me, it's just it shows like the gap I think that Rocket League has in relative to the other scenes, where it's like, yes, Wavepunk is an absolute goat. You know, he's worked so hard and has done so much stuff. But when our endemics can't break that barrier in when they deserve it the most, that's where I'm like, this is kind of weird. And I think this is where the exposure thing is like a really, really big problem that we really need to address.
So whose plate do you think the responsibility lies on? Because again, in my opinion, I think a lot of it comes from the storytelling. Maybe this is a comment. Maybe this is our fault on the desk. We're not telling these stories well enough, and that's fine if it's our fault. I'm just curious, where do you think the seed needs to start from before it spreads out?
It's funny. I don't think, in my opinion, it's like the desk's fault. Obviously, like having worked on a desk for CRL and all that, and then having, you know, been able to work with guys like James Bott and all them, like they are fantastic at what they do. You are great at what you do. There is never a point where like I am wanting for a good storyline. You know, we go into Carmine Corp and Vitality, and everything is there. All the ingredients are there for a fantastic match and a good storyline because of what the desk does, along with some other, you know, additive components. In my opinion, and this is going to sound a little bit mean, and maybe there's other reasons for it, but I think the core issue is actually on the content creators of the scene. The reason for that is because, one, I think it's partially on the players who just struggle with a personality. But two,
they're so young, which I think is an inherent issue with the scene, because it's hard for them to have those outward personalities at 15.
Exactly, right? So I think part of it is on the players who just struggle with just developing good personality that isn't just I'm a child that plays this game. And then another thing is just, I think the CCs just have a hard time with experimenting with platforms to grow Rocket League in a way that can help the RLCS scene. I think Sunless Khan has done a great job, but you know, he's been a little absent as far as like RLCS stuff in the past, you know, year or so, which is fine. But he's dealing with Rule 1 very much. He's dealing with Rule 1 because he has his own pro team. Whereas like, think of where the casual is typically watching content. We have like TikTok, we have YouTube, we have, you know, Instagram. I've always been told, like, when it comes to content, think of the shitter test, which is most people are watching their TikToks on the shitter, and if your content isn't as legible or as engaging so that someone on the shitter can actually watch, then it's probably not good content. And I think we're struggling with crossing that barrier into this algorithm threshold that allows RLCS to grow. I like to bring up the example of like CSGO back in the day with like 10 mans and like rank S. I don't know how much you know of like the CS scene, but like the peak.
I'm a casual watcher.
So it's like the peak North American, where North America probably got its most of its popularity, was when rank S was going on, and it was you got personalities like Stewie, you had Dazed, you had Tarek, you had like all of these guys who pretty much got their start in ESEA rank S before kind of FPL came in and stuff, and even though it was still big, but it was like so jokey, so serious, but you got so many clips out of it. I feel we really have struggled to, and those clips and those streams and that period of time is what developed so many personalities in the scene, and that is what so many North American fans of CSGO remember so fondly.
Well, I'm telling you now, as a casual viewer, I mean, C9, Stewie, like these are moments that reached me as just I'll watch a major every once in a while, but like those moments still reached me in my sphere of content.
I mean, it's because like I think the players, you know, they're a bit older, but they did a good job at being able to just like market themselves on stream. And part of it is like the way that Rocket League is made. Like, I'm sorry, but Rocket League comms are dry as hell. And a lot of the time just suck. And people think like, yeah, I'm just going to put a comm video out on YouTube and people will just like really enjoy it. I'm like, well, no.
Some people do.
Yeah, I mean, some people do, but those are like the people who are already invested into as like fans. And we don't see that on Twitch as often. Right? People just kind of grind out twos on Twitch, literally no comm everything, and then it's like, yeah, you know. So I think it's a problem that comes across in a lot of different ways. From the publication, I think it's on CCs, it's partially on players. I think there are some stuff that Psyonix could be doing better, and I think we all know this. There are issues that going on when it comes to the exposure of the game, but it's stuff that, you know, they're just like quality of life things. Like you look at how CS or Valorant like markets their majors and their big tournaments within the game. Fortnite, how it markets within the game. We only have the esports button. We only have like a little button in the menu that you can blink and miss it. The amount of times I get in my ranked games, what is CRL, when I have the CRL analyst tag and CRL is an esports button whenever it goes on, I'm like, how is this still a question, even at like champ or grand champ?
Yeah, it is. I get recognized more now. Here's my. So I have three things that people interact with me. One is, what is RLCS analyst?
Yep.
Two,
classic, is
Lief, I love you. And then three is, are you that guy in the Lethamyr videos? And now the one that takes a majority of 50% of the responses now are you the guy in the Lethamyr videos?
Yeah.
About 10% of it is Lief, I love you. And the other 40 is, what's an RLCS analyst?
Yep. Or, and this is the special toxic version, analyze this.
Anal lol. Yeah, no, there's I've gotten really good at banter with people asking bad questions like that.
It's so good. The amount of differentiations I've said for like college Rocket League, it'll be like cats in real life or something. You know. But back to the thing, it's just, to me, how is the exposure not there when like we have an esports button in the game?
I wonder. So I mean, this would take a lot of cooperation, but I'm wondering if I sat here and I had every content creator in front of me, I bet you I could create a game plan across 10 different content creators to coordinate and say, this video, I need a mention of Zen or a reference to Zen. This video, you need a reference to Zen at this point because it ties in, it doesn't feel forced, and then all of a sudden you have 10 content creators hitting, across all the millions of viewers, the name Zen just keeps kind of casually popping up over the course of about 3 months. And at that point, you have a casual audience that's like, oh man, that looked like a Zen player. Like, people just know the name all of a sudden. And it was just something that was done, again, even in a crate opening.
Yeah.
I mean, you do a John Sandman blueprint opener, whatever it is, and then he's just like, man, I'm the Zen of openings right now. Look at this, right? And it's just having that. It's the reason Coke still advertises. We all fucking know what Coke is, right? We all, if we want a Coke, we're gonna get a Coke. It doesn't, but they still advertise during the Super Bowl. They spend billions of dollars on their advertising, and it's because that constant, the back of your mind, brand recognition is so important to making sure that it's ingrained in people's. And I think that's something Rocket League did do well, is having toys. There's Hot Wheels out there, so that brand is there in kids' mind. As they grow up, they will know what Rocket League is. But you're right. I think that needs to happen on the personality side of things.
It's funny you mentioned that, because that's literally what happened in CSGO. Like, why do you think so many people know who Kenny S is? Is because you have every streamer, every like player or content creator, they're being like, yeah, dude, I'm Kenny S. Like, I'm hitting an off clip, I'm Kenny S. The same thing with Simple, right? Like, oh my God, I'm Simple. Like, you know, even with League of Legends and Faker, if anyone pulls off a mid lane play, yeah, I'm Faker, right? Because it's just that referential like component adds, it might not seem a lot, but it adds so much to a esports scene, because the moment that someone comes in, and oh God, I can't believe how many times people have posted this on Reddit or whatever. The moment that someone comes in, it's like, what player do I support? What team do I support? Right? If you have no concept of what player is good, what team is good, it's too much.
Your investment's gone.
It's too much. It's like, what am I supposed to go to like the esports site and like research a bunch of teams, figure out? No casual is going to do that. We might go to Wikipedia and look at these teams, but not like some random who is just coming in from the esports button for the first time.
That's why when I introduce someone to Rocket League, for instance, I say, okay, they're like, what's going on here? I'm like, okay, NRG, these are the legends that have not, I mean, we used to say, these are the legends that have come in close to winning a cup but never could, that the underdogs everyone wants to see succeed. And Garrett G's been to like every single land. So like, that's the story. Okay, on the other side of it, like here's, for instance, Cake or Moist. These guys all came out of nowhere. They're new, and all of a sudden they just start popping off. But they're rookies, and they're really mechanical and just do crazy stuff. And then you give these like small 2-sentence personalities to each story, and then the person says, "Oh, well, I really like the underdog, so I'm going to go." With this team or whatever.
The biggest.
And
sorry, go ahead.
It helps people connect. So.
Yeah, no, like the biggest is when you can come with like, especially if it's casuals like familiar with sports, but a lot of the time because Rocket Leagues are kids, they don't really have that point of reference. But more like adult viewers who might enjoy Rocket League, you have to come up with like a sports reference for them. So like if they're European, right? You'd be like, okay, Vitality, they're like Manchester City right now, and Zen is like, oh God, what's his name?
I don't know nothing about football, so
the one. Oh, I'm gonna get clowned on this so hard. You know the really good player from Manchester City who's like Nordic or something. But K Corp is like Arsenal, right? Like they're so close, but like they just can't get there. Or for Americans, you come up with like a football reference, and I don't watch football, and I don't care, so it's fine. But in a lot of ways, it's like how you relate it to them. But so much of it, again, like comes down. I even wrote a list down, but it's just for ease. But like, how do you make the transition from like casual to like fan as easiest as possible? Part of it, in my opinion, I think it's just like revamping the homepage. Like in CSGO majors or CS2 majors, you could literally just have the stream open on your homepage right then and there, and it's no click out, no link out or anything like the main esports button, but you can literally it's embedded into the homepage. It will play automatically the moment that you turn on the game, and that counts as a viewership. And I think like even just like having it there for a second. All it takes is 2
right,
seconds.
because it's easy enough for someone just to be like, whoa, what's going on? Like, because you could catch a player logging in at a crazy moment, and the commentator's going, it's 2v1, they got up on site, you know, like it, and you're like, whoa, what's going on? You watch 30 seconds of it, you're like, that was crazy, and then you realize, oh my god, it's tied right now. Let me just watch the end of this.
Exactly.
Round. And now you're watching.
And then like immediately
Rocket League has so many of those moments.
So many. And then you have a team to support, you know, if it's Zen doing like that 1v3 defense and like going ahead and scoring, then boom, you have a favorite player. That's all it takes. It's all it takes.
And then I do think, again, there is that addition of but then again, this has to come from the top, because how do you coordinate? Because you might also get content creators saying, no, I don't want to do that, right? But like, how do you coordinate these subtle inferences of these players to continue that outside of just the home screen? Because once you close the game, well, now what's my consumption of these personalities, right? Well, I'm going to go on YouTube, but if there's no references to Zen ever, I might be like, oh, well, nobody else actually cares about it. So how do you, like, you almost need this holistic approach, but how do you do that? Like, you almost have to artificially plant content creators and these seeds to make these personalities.
It's not like content creators don't go to events. I know for a fact all of them do, essentially. Right. Even though I would say, like, a lot of the time when an RL content creator goes to an event, it's more chill. Like, it's meant to be like, this is our one time to like have a break, which I totally understand. And it's totally understandable, except unless you're like Tryhouse or like Tenacity, where it's like you're streaming while you're at the event, you're just grinding out. Sure, that's fine. But you know, a lot of the time, like, and I'm sure if I talk to like some content creators, like this will be the case. It's just like they might just say it doesn't get views, therefore why would I do it? You
know what though, I think is who does it really well, and oddly enough, it would be the last person in my opinion I think that you would think would do this, is to bring it back to Lethamyr. I mean, Lethamyr has videos where he's like, I played with the greatest player of all time, and then it's him in a 2v2 with Zen.
And that helps so much.
Right. And so it's like if he can do it when his main content is whack-ass maps and having fun with his friends, if he can go in and still get views and clicks and continue to do this while still bringing in the esport side of things, I feel like it's very possible, even if it's a small, as I said, even a crate opening, someone's saying, I'm the Zen of crate openings or whatever, you know.
And I
don't know why I'm saying crates. Those haven't been in the game, but you know what I'm saying.
What it drops. You know, I think what's a little discouraging right now is because there's like this prevailing sentiment across content creation in Rocket League in general. I'm sure you can see this across Twitch, where it's just like, game's dead, leave it, go variety, whatever. And I'm not going to mention any names, and I totally respect why they want to do that. They want to further their growth in their career. But I mean, could you imagine if when CS was like arguably dying, if like Tarek just like stopped streaming CS? And sure, he went to Valorant, but that was like way later. But like when CS was at its lowest, arguably, and like before 2018, like what if like all the just content creators that were there just like left and just didn't do anything?
I do feel like it's counterproductive for content creators to complain about the thing they're making content for dying, because I feel like it increases a sentiment in their viewers that it's dying,
and that they leave.
That inherently is going to make those people care less about that
content,
which makes them watch you. Like, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in my opinion. I get make one big banger video that's like, is Rocket League dying? Talk about the problems, but then come out with a positive attitude saying, but I think it's solvable with this. We'll get through it. Make sure that your audience still has a positive outlook on the content. Otherwise, they're going to walk away and be like, well, my personal investment is dropping now.
Exactly.
As well.
Because
and then that just kills you.
Yeah. all it is just like it's destructive to the game. It's destructive to the fan base that we have. It really just puts a bad aura and a bad image around the overall. Like, how many times did like people say CSGO is dead, CSGO is dead? It eventually recovered, but there were a lot of people who were saying CSGO is dead, especially when Valorant came out. And it's doing better than ever and whatnot. And there's so many games that went through that and were able to like revive it, excuse me. But I wouldn't contribute the revival to the content creators who were dunking on the game for like a year just because like, oh, you weren't having success, therefore the game is dying. Like, no, that's such a bad way to treat the game that has treated us well for so many years. You know, we might have our problems with, you know, how Epic is treating the game or how things are going, but never like dunk on the game itself.
Yeah, I think it's perfectly fine to complain. I think any of the content creators complaining are perfectly valid in it, because it shows that they care, right?
Yeah.
They do. If you don't complain, it means you don't care. You're just like, whatever, if it dies, it dies. Yeah, I do think you have to be careful with recognizing how much influence you have over the opinions of the people around you, and that being upset will make your audience upset. I hate to say it, but it's very easy for commenters to hive mind.
Oh yes.
They don't always think for themselves. A lot of them are kids that don't know how to think for themselves yet. And having that making that the vibe of a video be negative is problematic. You can complain, but I think it's perfectly possible to complain while still having a positive outlook.
Yeah.
But
like look at what CS2 is going on right now, right? Like CS2 is obviously a newish game, and Valve put it out to like beta test everything, and there were clearly some issues that some CCs were having with it, some pro players were having with it, but never once did you hear the game's dead on launch. Never once did you hear the game is dying. It's like, no, these are things we need to fix. It's a work in progress. It's things like, we love this game clearly, and this is our passion, and this is how we're showing it, by showing you the things that needs to be fixed in some sort of fashion. But I think that's just because like the audience is a bit more mature, the players are a bit more mature, there's more sense of like, this game is over 20 years old, it's not dying anytime soon, let's just focus on making the game that we have better, because we know it's a new product, we know it's, you know, it's not like Rocket League is necessarily new, but it's going through a rough spot. That doesn't mean you need to immediately dismiss the entire thing as being dead just because it's going through some issues. Yeah,
no, it's an interesting thing to balance. That's for sure. I don't know. Do you think it's possible? Like, should a company like Psyonix be hands-on with content creators and saying, "Hey, we should solve this"? Like, because I don't know, because then it opens them up of like just more discourse of the content creator saying, "Well, then I'm only going to do this if you fix it.
Yeah,
I'm going to be positive if you fix it." And then if there's a roadblock that can't be fixed, or the company doesn't want to fix, then you have even more animosity.
Yeah.
So that could open up a whole other can of worms.
That is like honestly, that is the most like tenuous part of anything. And this is not just in Rocket League, but like all scenes, is like the relationship between like developer and like content creators, like the people who like make the game. I personally prefer it to be hands off, you know. If you're like Valve, it works out sometimes, but they have also taken a lot of shit over the years. Riot Games as well, they have taken a ton, but there is some sort of line of communication at times for different things like beta testing and you know, trying to handle some stuff. Valve is not always the best, but in my opinion, I think it's worked out the best. The moment that I think a developer starts to cater to like content creators too much, I think that's when you get to a slippery slope, and it can be very a bit tenuous.
Yeah, it is interesting looking at Valve and Riot as examples, because I feel like they're completely opposite. I mean, Riot is full hands-on, whereas as Valve is, will dabble sometimes, but like they're pretty much just like, you know, blast whatever. Did you guys just go make your own thing, and we'll drop a game-changing patch in the middle of your tournament?
They'll do that.
That's happened.
The only time Valve ever gets involved is when they see something that is unfair in terms of the like franchising. If they don't like it, they'll be like, no, we don't want it. Yeah. And then if they which companies did, if companies try and circumvent that, they're going to be like, no, you need to stop right now. We're not going to give you the license to the game, basically.
Right.
And that's probably the most like hard that I think Valve has ever been to tournament organizers and whatnot. But nothing in terms of like the perception of the game. Like they don't give a shit if people are mad that like an op gets patched or whatever the hell. Like the most they did was patch out the R8 the moment that it came out because it was so fucking busted. But that was like a game breaking patch, right? So it's just, you know.
Do you think esports will always be capped in the fact that someone owns the rights to the game? Because with traditional sports, I can just go start a hockey league if I want to. And if it gets big enough, maybe I could eventually overtake the NHL, right? But that just, you won't ever have that in esports because the developers can just say, no, we don't like that. Stop.
Yeah. That is a very, like, that is probably, I think, the biggest challenge to esports, not only in terms of growth, but in terms of like further management is its relationship with IP rights. You know, there is a case that it's good to have developer and publisher basically be totally in control of everything, but there's also cases where it's not, and it can be an active hindrance, whether it's patches, things like that. It's why when in I can't remember if it was 2015 or 2016, like when Valve put out Riot Games, they put out a patch like right before Worlds. Pissed a ton of people off because it basically broke the game. They're like,
right. Everything you're preparing for is gone.
It's like this has like tangible effects on people's careers, but Riot's basically like, it's our game, we can do whatever we want with it. Biggest thing is Nintendo, you know.
Well, I was gonna say I love the Melee scene because they don't get patches. They aren't affected by Nintendo. The only way they're affected by Nintendo is through proxy of event organizers who will drop the game if it means they're going to get a bunch of free consoles to use for, you know, Smash Ultimate.
Well, the thing is right now is like, you know, Smash has been running generally independently for the past 20 years. And how many times, including now, how many times has Nintendo ran active roadblocks to prevent the Melee scene from existing? It's why, and I will say it to anyone, Nintendo, horrible company. It's good in some cases to, you know, I know that they treat their Pokemon scene well, but when it comes to Smash, horrible. Like,
that's because Pokemon players play the new game. That's all Nintendo cares about. They don't care about established
like for example, like TMU, right, which is my alma mater, wanted to run Smash stuff. The fact that Nintendo came out and basically said, we're going to pretty much cease and desist any tournament that goes on unless you have a license, which is a complete sham, totally scared them off from doing any tournaments. Totally tries to kill the community. And I could do a whole damn episode on like Melee and stuff and its whole thing. But that is the biggest issue, is like, how are IP rights versus, you know, the games themselves and how they age, the relationship with the whole that in terms of a legal system, like how is that going to develop in the future? Because Nintendo is at the forefront of just being complete assholes about it.
Oh yeah, no, they're just twats.
You know, it's literally like the prohibition right now, where it's like you're gonna be knocking on a door, you're gonna say, you know, Marth Fox 6040. You go in and it's like this underground like money match, like everyone just doing individual tournaments and stuff.
That's what Smash was. Yeah. You'd be in someone's basement in the city over, your shoes strewn everywhere and it's just sweaty.
Like, right? At this point, you have to, or risk like getting a knock on the door from Nintendo lawyers. Like, it's insane.
Yeah. We'll start running streams on the dark web for Smash Bros.
Jeez.
Yeah, no, really, it's crazy because that sentiment, I think, is starting to make its way to the public as well, of Nintendo being terrible, because even content creators are having like Mario Kart gameplay being taken down, and it's so now everyone's starting to see what the Smash Bros scene has seen forever in this company, and it's becoming more of an accepted sentiment of like, okay, Nintendo can fuck off.
But, well, you'll still have like the Nintendo fanboy be like, but they make good games though, and I'm like, good games doesn't make you a good company. I don't care what anyone. They made.
It's how you handle the communities around those.
You can make Breath of the Wild, but if you're still a shit company, you're still a shit company. I don't care what you say.
Yeah, no, it's that's the title of this whole podcast episode now. F*** Nintendo.
But
that's great. And they can't do anything because there's no gameplay.
There's no gameplay. When it comes to Psyonix, though, like we both know, like Psyonix is going through a bit of a time, and so very much, it's like the esports side. It feels like it's taking a back seat.
Yeah, they're awkward because right now it's two companies trying to make decisions where there's so much red tape to go through.
We all know what's going on with the esports team and layoffs that happened, everything about that, and so it's this weird merging right now. I have no idea how Epic Games is going to deal with Rocket League in terms of the future. We know that the racing mode is like rumored and stuff like that, but
wasn't the rumor that that's in Fortnite though?
Yes. Which I'm like
it's not a Rocket League mode, it's a Fortnite
mode. And you can get into the whole like the decisions that I've got with trading, all that stuff, right? But in terms of like the core question was like, how do we grow the esports scene, because it's what we're related to and it's such a historical thing. It all really depends on how Epic Games views it. Do they want it to be a competitor to like Fortnite in terms of the casual audience? Do they want it to continue to grow at its pace? We just don't know. Like
Well, the thing is, like, Tim Sweeney's been very apparent. He wants a metaverse. It's why they're bringing in all these IPs from everywhere. Yep. And I think he wants Rocket League in Fortnite. Like I could see the Rocket League UE5 update being a Fortnite,
just like update in the client itself.
And Rocket League is now in Fortnite.
Oh man,
that I could see that. I don't want that to happen, but I could see that because I mean, again, Sweeney's been very apparent. He wants the metaverse. I mean, it's the same. It's the same thing as like in-game item NFTs, which I think actually isn't a bad thing. I mean, that's essentially what skins are in
CS and stuff.
In CS, it's just through their own system. It's not a blockchain system. But the NFTs, imagine, you go from Fortnite, you go from this and other games that are now in the metaverse. Imagine you have your and I think that's why trading stopped. I think that they're going to have it so that your cars and stuff are available in Fortnite or whatever. Yeah. But they had to do something in the back end, which is why trading's gone. Actually, it'll be a day after this episode goes up. So
rest in peace.
Yeah. So F in the chat. But I think that's what's happening is, like, imagine though, it's kind of cool in the idea that like, oh, if I get a gun in this game, or a skin in this game, I can use it in this game. So the concept of that is kind of cool. Imagine a developer goes in, you make a skin, and you can sell it in 20 different games. Like as that'd be really, because Epic has shown that they want to support the community making stuff. Like, with their Fortnite editor, you can make a mode and make revenue off of it. And I could see that happening with items as well. Imagine you make a sick topper for a car, and then that hat also works on your Fortnite character. It also works on other things. I get the concept. Do I want that? I'm not going to play these other games. Like I don't play Fortnite. Yeah. I don't have anything against that. It's not my kind of game. But I when I boot Rocket League, I just want to boot Rocket League and play Rocket League. So I wonder if it's like, I get the idea. Well, I mean, again, we don't even know if this is happening. I can see the concept of what they're probably trying to build here. I just don't know if that's what the audience is of those products.
Yeah, it could just, and it could just be like really bad growing pains. But I think the perception of the community is that, like, and this isn't even like so much related to the esports scene, but more so it feels like Epic Games is just slowly tearing down like what has made Rocket League special over the past little bit. And when the game is struggling at its most, and it continues to just put it down and down and down. But maybe it's like we will see just a bounce back because it will, rise up kind of in a new form. It's just, time is slow. Rocket League moves slowly. A year feels like this year, like you look at Zen winning, it feels like a year ago already. And it's like, I hope anyway, I think everyone should be optimistic generally. It's very easy to be pessimistic when so much of the stuff is going around with viewership, with CCs leaving, things like that. I think it's very easy to be pessimistic, but I would have to trust that, like, it is our game. It will never really die. and it will just take on a new form.
It'll never die
in some fashion. And my main thing is like, I want it, you know, I don't want to be forced to play Fortnite. I want it that like, if I am a dedicated Rocket League player, caster, content creator, that there is still something for me left in the game dedicated to Rocket League.
Yeah. And again, remember, this is just my, I don't actually have any inside info. This is my speculation on what
it makes sense, honestly. Like, it doesn't seem like it's far off, considering, like, you know, these properties have such big communities to them, both Rocket League and Fortnite alone, that, like, why wouldn't you try and, like, integrate them together in some kind of way?
Right.
At least in some sort of shared economy, because Valve did it best. That the Steam marketplace is the best. It continues to be the best and the prime example of how you run a trading market within a video game. And maybe Epic is trying to emulate that because, dude, Valve makes so much money off the Steam marketplace. It's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, that would be a big way to, I mean, they have their own platform.
Yeah.
They got to do something to make money because paying developers millions of dollars to have free games on your platform doesn't make you money.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's why they had to do these layoffs. I mean, Sweeney said it himself. He's like, I thought we could push through this, but it wouldn't. Then he decided to go and sue a bunch of companies and lose lawsuits. So it's I wonder how we ended up here.
Because the thing is, it's not like Valve makes like a bunch of money off of like their cases and stuff. They do. They make a great amount of money from that, but it's like they get a slice of pie of like every single transaction, right? Which makes them so much. And I could understand. And in my opinion, that is a more sustainable and healthier and huge, more like a much bigger room for growth than forcing everyone to just buy drops in the shop or buy stuff in the shop.
Right,
and I think it just has a much better long-term effect on like the overall economy for Rocket League and health of like Fortnite and Rocket League in terms of Epic's perspective. So I hope that they would do that, but we'll see.
Hey, well, good discussion. I'm gonna end this off here, unless you had any more footnotes.
Oh no, I do want to tell everyone like how we met.
Okay.
So we met.
Oh yeah, the EG. Okay. Let's do that as our outro.
All right, so Lief and I met because we both were working for Media XP at the time, and we had done like a couple events together at that point, just like basic setup stuff. But you were running the Rocket League side of stuff at EGLX. I don't remember if it was 2016 or 2017. It was one of those years.
That's all. Now those years are a blur because that's RLCS start time.
Yeah. So you were kind of doing RLCS stuff at the time, but you were also doing the EGLX stuff, and I was doing the EGLX stuff because I was a student at my university, and we had this whole esports thing, and we were all worked together. Jackson was there, and all this stuff, and so we had met, we had chatted or whatever. I noticed that you were playing Rocket League, and at this time I was transitioning from like Melee as my dedicated game to Rocket League because I was having a ton of fun with it, and I was like, oh man, dude, like you're so sick. And this is like, I was just getting into RLCS at the time, and then like I noticed like, wow, dude, you're pretty good at this game. And he's like, oh, you play Rocket League? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, we'll rank you. It's like, oh yeah, I'm doing good. Like I'm gold. He's like, oh, you're shit. And it just continues to play the game. And I'm like, what is gold bad? He's like, yeah, it's pretty shit. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right, let me grind. I'm still only champ something, so it's, you know.
I mean, you caught up to me. I mean, I'm in the champ hell right now too. I can't break
it's
past
impossible.
C3,
It's
dude.
impossible. I refuse.
Yeah, a few seasons ago, I finally peaked GC2, and then just can't reach the. Granted, I'm putting in 5 hours every 2 weeks right now.
Yeah,
I've been so busy with content.
Yeah, busy. My work has kind of gotten in the way of like dedicating to like Rocket League, and I'd love to put in like even 20 or 30 past 2, but you know, we're both working full-time dudes, so it's hard.
It's hard. We don't get the privilege of being a 15-year-old that gets to play as much as he wants after school, you know. And then getting paid to do
exactly
it.
Right. Jeez,
I do it for free. But yeah, that's the thing, is I will be playing Rocket League for the rest of my life, as long as it exists. I don't ever see myself through any controversies, whatever, unless all of a sudden Epic is like, we support genocide. Like, I might not support them then at that point.
It's like very extenuating circumstances would make me like, man, I'm not comfortable playing this game.
But realistically, I love Rocket League. It's just there's something about it.
It's just like,
it's
therapeutic. Like it's,
I get at least a game a day. And then I lose drastically and then say, okay, that's enough for today.
Buy another controller, break it.
New controller. I can't see myself ever not playing Rocket League.
It's amazing. I continue to enjoy it. And I used to be like a CS main. Like I used to be a main in so many other games. But Rocket League is that one game where it's like I could pick it up, throw in some Eurobeat, down some pre-workout, grind out for the next 3 hours, and just drop it, go to bed angry, and then just have a good sleep.
That's true. Yeah, no, it'll always be one of my top 3 games. I got Star Citizen, Rocket League, and Marvel Snap. Those are my go-tos right now. By the way, if anybody wants to join any of those games, join the Discord. The links are in the Spotify description and also in the YouTube description. Get in the Discord, even if it's just to hang out and chat throughout the week about various different things. Even if you want to post memes, we got a meme section. I need memes, so please feed me. I'd love to have y'all in the Discord if you're doing that. But Seb, thank you so much for joining.
Oh, dude,
thanks for chat. It's always a good chat. That's why I'm like, once I saw the tweet, I'm like, let's get on here and start chatting, because I hung out with you recently and those were good chats.
Canadian brother, dude. Let's go. There's not many of us. I'm always happy to talk with Canadians about these things.
Didn't CS just get a Canadian team?
CS?
Yeah, was it NRG or something?
I think there's a couple Canadians on it, but
I thought it was all Canadians.
Was it? It's like OC and Dabs, or I know that Twist is coming back. The rumor is Twist and NAF which are the 2 best Canadian players, are going to be on the same team, which is going to be amazing.
Okay.
Also, Shopify got their league spot, so that's hype.
Right. Okay.
Shopify's sick.
Hell yeah.
As I wear a Ghost shirt.
All right. Yeah, I got my Shopify hoodie in the other room. I use it so much. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. For everyone that is watching and you haven't hit the subscribe button, please hit the subscribe button. Go hit up this guy's Twitter. I don't know which side you're on after this video is done rendering, but go follow him on his socials. Go check out his pictures from Japan. They're really nice. I know I showed some on here, but go look at them again. And hit the subscribe, hit the follow, all that, leave a comment, and what's all this like button, and just watch the next episode. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.